Okay, this is a response to Ben Yohama's recent video follow-up to my previous questions on evolution and speciation. I did one of the responses to your other one, well, you know that, but other people might not. And in my response, I kind of go off on this whole tangent about how the word species is stupid and I hate it and it doesn't mean anything. You know, there were some good text replies too to your question, so I'm not going to talk about those things in particular. Basically, not a lot of time in isolation, so it's kind of a questionable issue. And with our bigger brains and tool use, we're very adaptable to our environment, and so there's going to be less selective pressure for specific sort of biological structures in people, specifically in. But there's going to be fewer selective pressures that are different between two different populations of people, because at this point we've reached a point where, you know, effectively using tools is probably something that's going to be a useful skill for any population of people. But I just wanted to talk quickly again, sort of about the word species, and I don't want to belabor the point because I know I already kind of went off about this last time, so I'm sure you kind of remember. But so since the word species is biologically ambiguous, it doesn't mean, well, there's not like, okay, well, when you have this many mutations in coding regions of the genome, you're a new species. When you have, you know, this much genetic difference, you're a new species, or anything like that. So while there's not really hard and fast rules in terms of, well, can they mate, there's also not very hard and fast rules in terms of what does it biologically mean to be two species. We don't know. And the reason we don't know is because we can't really define it, because it's not just, it's a continuum in like the purest sense of the word. There's a smooth gradient from, you know, one point to another in the way we progress evolutionarily. So to point at, you know, any given space and say this is where it changes or this is where it changes is meaningless. And so because that's meaningless, well, applying the word species to two very close time points is kind of loses its meaning too. And so because of this, I wonder a little bit, and don't take this the wrong way, but is the question meaningful? And the question being, are certain races of humans, I guess, or do we have subspecies or anything like that? But is it a meaningful question? And I don't ask this in a condescending way, but just kind of in a, because to me it seems like it's possible that the question is almost an artifact of the ambiguity of the word species, because the word species isn't very well defined. Well, does it matter if we're different species, since it's kind of a made-up word anyway? And I'm asking because it's like, and I guess what I would say is, if you can further articulate your question, possibly, if you're asking like, well, to what point, how much biological difference should there be before we start calling them species? That's kind of a philosophical issue or something like that. But like what kind of difference are you looking for other than just what label can you stick on it? Because it really is just a label, and since it's a label without biological meaning, well, in this context, to me it seems meaningless to start throwing around the word species or subspecies. And I'm sure there's people who will disagree with me for different reasons. But and also, lastly, I'd just like to say that while we humans perceive a lot of difference between different human phenotypes, that is to say, you know, facial structure and, you know, the way eyes are set and hair color and all that stuff, you know, we humans, we look at 100 humans, we can differentiate between them extremely well. It's like it's one of the things we are programmed to do extremely well. You know, you go and look at 100, you know, black labs or something, or you know, cats with, you know, orange fur and stripes, and you know, I bet you can't tell those apart, right? But you're never going to be walking through a crowd and be like, oh, look, that looks like my sister. Oh, wait, no, it's not my sister. You know, we humans, we are very good at differentiating between human phenotypes, and because of this, I think we have an exaggerated idea of how much difference there really is. Yeah, we see a lot of difference, but are we really that different, or are our brains just designed to differentiate between human phenotypes? So I think that's part of what plays into our idea, because when you really think about it, like measurement, size measurements in terms of bone structure and things like that, all the same biological structures are there in any particular population of humans. It's not like one set consistently has more teeth than the other, or has different kind of I can't think of the word right now for the setup for teeth, or things like that, where you start seeing like different biological structures or different setup for real function. Instead, what we see is sort of these superficial differences of coloration, a little bit of bone structure stuff. To me, it seems pretty minor. So I think the question might not really have as much meaning as you expect, based on, well, what are you really asking? And also, I think that we have an exaggerated idea of how different we really are, just because it's what we're sort of designed to do, is look at different people and differentiate between them. I mean, if you couldn't tell your family apart from strangers, you'd be in trouble, right? Anyway, before I start going in circles and repeating myself, I think I'm just going to wrap it up there. I think I said just about everything I wanted to say. So hopefully, if it doesn't answer your question, at least it gives you another perspective to think about it from. What does species really mean, and what would it mean for two groups to be different species? Without defining that, I don't think we could really answer the question.